In this video, I'm going to share a workflow that essentially takes your data from WhatsApp and then transfers over to a Google Sheet so that you can create a purchase order or some sort of file that you then send over to your factory or whatnot. And in this case, the idea essentially came from this Reddit post that you're right now seeing on the screen. And it was simply that they were, if I'm based on what I know, is that they're probably receiving a lot of information about different products on WhatsApp. And I've dealt with that as well. It's so annoying because you kind of had to transfer that manually from WhatsApp to a CSV so you can like essentially fill it out and then create the order, right? But instead of doing that, I decided to build this quick workflow, which essentially does the work for you pretty much. And in this case, I'm just going to pull up my WhatsApp chat. And if I were to now send this, I know the data is it looks pretty good right now. So that's, yeah, of course, it's probably not going to look that good when they send their messages, but this is just to show you how it looks like. And as you can see, as I'm writing, it's printing it out or writing in the data to the sheet. So if I were to spam it a lot, you will see that it will just keep on writing. And also another thing you might have noticed is that I actually have two sheets going on here. And it's because the first sheet, which is messages, or the second sheet, I only have it because I want to queue up the messages that we receive. So if somebody writes like 5 messages to us, we want to like collect them and then move them over as one collective group of messages. And that's essentially where the order sheet comes in, because this is essentially the order sheet. And the way I thought about logically is that, okay, let's say we're getting the orders right now. How are we going to like differentiate between the orders from today versus tomorrow? Well, we can add in a date. So let's say all of the products we talked about on this day belong to this order, for example. But of course, you could do it in some other way. This is just me like brainstorming and like coming up with ideas on how to do this. But this is essentially, you gotta like essentially have one way to like put things in a way where, okay, this is gonna be the order, right? And besides that, I mean, I have this wait node in between, as mentioned before, is used to collect more messages and send and write them over as a collective group instead of just writing one message at a time, which you can do, but you kind of want to make sure that, hey, are we essentially collecting all of as much messages as possible that belong together and not like writing messages, maybe creating orders of things that kind of belongs together. So that's at least how I'm thinking. Of course, if this was a real situation where you were working with this, I will increase this to, I don't know, 5 minutes probably instead, because let's say we're having a long conversation, it's far better to use chat. It's far better to then collect as many messages as possible and then create the final order. And if I'm just going to show you how this entire thing works, is that we're using this webhook over here with Evolution API, and we just receive all of the WhatsApp messages on our end over here. Once we receive it, we then use this parse to essentially parse out the data, which is the text in this case, or essentially this, we're parsing out that's essentially what we're doing from the message. I know that it's not going to look that good when you actually chat with them. I 100% know that. So you're going to have to move things around and just make sure that, okay, how do they write out when they're actually talking about an order? You might even have to add in an AI agent in this case. That will actually might actually just be the one way to solve it. First thing we do is that we save the messages in our Google Sheet, as I already showed you over here in here. Then we have this wait, where we use wait for more messages to come in, or else if we didn't have this wait, we will essentially just write out all of the messages and we won't really save them. And this is one of the tactics you gotta do if you ever want to use an AI to talk with your customers, and you know that some people might send like, hey, how are you? We want the AI agent to answer to that as one like one question essentially, like. And to fix that, you essentially use a wait node in between. You queue up the messages, and once the queue is up in terms of time, you then release them and mark them as pending is done instead, and then essentially write them over to another page or let the AI agent write to that person. And as mentioned, this is a quick build based on this post over here that I just decided to, hey, what if I went in and tried building out a solution for this? And yeah, it worked pretty much. But either way, if you like this video, make sure to subscribe and I will see you in the next one.